Discover the incredible truth, how I exposed the hidden will that changed everything in court. Jake Lawson had seen life's toughest challenges. The sunlight poured through the attic window of his family's creaky old house, catching dust motes in a golden dance. That day, while Mia was outside playing on her bike, Jake stumbled upon a faded box draped in cobwebs. Curiosity pulled him closer. With a few greedy pulls, the box opened, revealing secrets of a family buried deep in shadows. Among the letters and old photographs, a fragile document caught his eye: his grandmother's will. As he read it, shock hit him like a gut punch. This wasn't just paper, it was a map to truths hidden for far too long. It spoke of family strife, whispers of estrangement, and a modest inheritance, a legacy retraced by bitter lines. But worse was the realization that his wealthy Uncle Harold loomed like a storm cloud over their family, ready to erase whatever light their modest heritage cast. Jake's heart raced. He was no match for Harold's influence, but the thought of exposing the truth, even if it meant chaos, pulled at him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The attic felt heavier, almost suffocating, as the weight of decisions bore down on him. Could he really challenge Harold? How could he keep Mia safe while trying to reclaim a legacy he'd never even known existed? As the days turned into restless nights, his strength wavered. The quiet town buzzed around him, neighbors now engrossed in the drama that had unfolded. What once was their haven became a battleground for loyalty and justice. Then, in a twist of fate, he met Tom, a local war veteran with surprising ties to Jake's forgotten family history. They exchanged stories under the flickering light of a humble diner. With every anecdote, Tom reinforced a sense of community in Jake's heart. Tom had fought for loyalty, justice, and his country. Suddenly, Jake found himself ignited with a sense of urgency. With Tom backing him, word spread through town. Neighbors began gathering, their voices echoing in the community hall. Jake found courage in their conviction, rekindling a sense of identity not just for himself but for Mia as well. Nights were spent in strategy discussions, fueled by shared dreams of families unified, resting on the bedrock of integrity and dignity. Yet just as clarity formed, the court dates sprinted closer like a freight train. Jake stood frozen in front of the courtroom doors, heart pounding fiercely. Could secrets that tied his family together be worth the price of division? Would bringing the truth to light only cast them to shadow? The courtroom holds the answer, and with thoughts of Mia swirling in his mind, Jake had to decide: reap justice at the risk of everything, or protect the fragile bonds that could fracture under scrutiny. As he clutched the will in his hand, the moment of decision loomed heavy. Could he stand against Harold and finally reclaim his family's true legacy? Jake inhaled deeply, the scent of polished wood and old papers flooding his senses as he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. The courthouse loomed ahead, stark and imposing. He could feel the disapproving glances of passing pedestrians, whispers swirling in the air like smoke. This was it. The moment everything he'd uncovered and everything he held dear could either rise triumphantly or crash down in ruins. He watched as the doors swung open. A ribbon of light spilled into the dim corridor, illuminating faces filled with anticipation and judgment. Taking a deep breath, Jake stepped through, his fingers gripping the will tightly, its paper crinkling under the pressure of his determination. Inside the courtroom, sunlight streamed through high windows, exposing dust swirling in the air. Jake caught sight of Uncle Harold, a figure of arrogance and authority, sitting smugly at the front. Harold's perfectly tailored suit only added to the aura of intimidation that surrounded him. Straightening his shoulders, Jake's heart raced. Was he really going to face off against the man who had kept his family's secrets hidden? He had no plan other than to stand for what was right. The gavel banged. The judge, an older man with tired eyes, called the court to order. Now, it was real. The murmur of the crowd fell away as an unsettling silence settled in. Jake's breath quickened. Was it too late to turn back? His gaze darted to Mia, seated in the back with Tom, their faces filled with concern and encouragement. "Jake, you can do this," Tom whispered, giving him an encouraging nod. Their trust buoyed him, feeding his resolve despite the fear clawing at him. When called to the stand, Jake felt a surge of confidence. He cleared his throat, ready to present the hidden will and the truths that came with it. But as he began to speak, Harold's sharp voice cut through the air, dripping with sarcasm. "Do you honestly believe those old letters and faded photos mean anything? You're just a boy trying to stir trouble." Jake met Harold's gaze, his heart pounding. "I believe they mean everything. It's about family, our family. Not just money." He felt the room shift, whispers rippling through the crowd, some nodding in agreement, others sneering. With each word, he crafted a picture of his grandmother's life, a life filled with love and sacrifice, wrested away from them by greed and deception. As he described the will and its true intentions, he watched the expressions change, the crowd leaning in as if his story was a lifeline tossed into turbulent waters. That he spoke of loyalty, unity, and the need to break free from the chains of estrangement that had held them captive for far too long. An emotional charge filled the room, hearts beginning to soften against the hard walls of Harold's influence. But just as Jake felt the tide of support turning, Harold's legal team leaped into action. They pressed him on the motives behind his claim, attempting to sow doubts in the minds of his neighbors. "And what do you truly stand to gain from this?" Jake faltered. Questions of motivation gnawed at him. Why was he really here? Was it about reclaiming a legacy or fighting for something more profound, the love and connection he'd always wanted for himself and Mia? With a hush settling over the room, Jake's answer hung heavy in the air. Would they believe he was in this fight for family and integrity? He looked around, eyes catching Mia's, her sweet smile encouraging him onward. Then, just as he found his voice again, the judge leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Mr. Lawson, this is a serious matter. Address the court directly." Jake swallowed hard. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about the community that stood with him, waiting for justice, waiting for truth. Heart racing, he squared his shoulders and looked the judge in the eye. Just then, a thought sparked in his mind. Did the past hold answers that could strengthen his case even more? What truth had yet to be uncovered that could shift the tide in his favor? Jake felt a surge of determination. The judge's piercing gaze was a challenge, and he was ready to rise to it. Could his grandmother's old letters hold more than just memories? He thought about the faded photographs he'd scoured through the night before, the ones that connected him to people he never really knew. If only one of them could shine light on the truth, a truth that wasn't just a sunny family memory but possibly a key to winning this fight. What if, he whispered to himself, imagining the possibilities. What if there's something in those letters? Something that proves Harold's greed? He could almost hear his grandmother's voice, warm and reassuring. With renewed vigor, he took a step toward the judge. "Your Honor, I need to bring in one more piece of evidence." A ripple of surprise moved through the courtroom, heads turning. "Evidence?" Harold's laughter echoed mockingly. "What else could you possibly have? Are you just grasping at straws?" Jake felt the heat rise to his cheeks but pressed on. "I want to bring in my grandmother's letters. They aren't just old words, they hold the essence of our family." He paused, searching the room for signs of support. When he saw Mia's encouraging nod, he felt emboldened. "My grandmother wrote about her dreams for our family. Her words are filled with love. She wanted us to stay connected, to avoid what happened when secrets were kept." Jake's voice grew stronger, fueled by memories of family gatherings filled with laughter and stories, moments that now felt threatened by Harold's greed. The judge raised an eyebrow. "This is a court of law, Mr. Lawson. Can you substantiate your claims? Are these letters authenticated?" "I can," Jake exclaimed. "I'll get them. They tell the stories of my family's unity. They prove that Harold misinterpreted my grandmother's intentions." A tense silence filled the room. Jake glanced at Harold, who had gone pale, the smug expression wiped from his face. It was time to strike. "You see, Your Honor," Jake pushed on, "her legacy was never meant to nourish greed. It was always about family first. I hope these letters will help to bring that truth back to light. Very well, the judge said, glancing back at Harold, who seemed to be fighting to regain his composure. Proceed with getting the letters. But be warned, this better have significant implications for your case. Jake nodded, his heart racing. As he stepped down from the stand, the weight of uncertainty began to lift, replaced with a flicker of hope. He returned to Mia, who reached out, squeezing his hand. That was brave, Jake. I can feel the change already. I hope so, he replied, a mix of anxiety and excitement coursing through him. As he began to strategize how best to present the letters, Tom leaned close and whispered, Jake, if you find what you think you might find, it could turn everything upside down for Harold. Jake nodded slowly. The thought of unveiling that truth filled him with adrenaline, but with it came a fear of what it might mean for his family and for Harold. When he got back to his seat, he pulled out his phone and texted his mom, asking if she could dig out the letters and get them to him before tomorrow's session. They were his best shot at turning the court's opinion. But when the response came back, it wasn't what he expected. I can't find them. I only have a few left. Just promise me you won't go digging too deep, Jake. Some things are better left alone. Jake's heart sank. What could be missing? What was so dangerous that his mother didn't want him to find it? Determined, he felt a more profound motivation fuel his resolve. This battle wasn't just about his immediate family but a key to understanding a past riddled with shadows. As he prepared for the next day, the air in the courtroom buzzed with uncertainty. Would the letters they unearthed reshape their lives forever? Or would he find something he was never meant to discover? Tomorrow would hold the key to unraveling a complicated truth, and he had no idea just how deep the rabbit hole went. What had his grandmother been hiding all along? The clock seemed to tick extra loud as Jake paced in his small apartment, anxiety swirling inside him like a storm. He couldn't shake the lead weight settling heavily in his stomach. His phone glowed in his hand, but the silence from his mother was deafening. What secrets did those missing letters hold? It felt like a race against time, and every second was a reminder of what he could lose. Mia's soft voice broke through his thoughts. Want to grab some coffee? It might help you think clearer. She was right. He needed to step away from the chaos, if only for a moment. They headed to their favorite coffee shop, a small place with old wooden tables and a warmth that contrasted sharply with the courtroom chill. As they sat in a corner, Jake sipped his steaming cup, letting the warmth seep through his fingers. Mia studied him carefully. Jake, what are you really worried about? It's not just the letters, is it? He hesitated but then opened up. I feel like I'm on the edge of something huge, but what if I discover something I can't handle? What if it changes my family forever? His voice broke as he spoke, the uncertainty weighing heavily on him. Mia leaned closer, her brow furrowed with empathy. You'll never know unless you look. What are you really looking for in those letters? The truth? Jake nodded, but the truth felt like a double-edged sword. Yes, but what if that truth is dark? What if the family I thought I knew isn't what it seems? The doubt in his voice echoed his fears. After a deep breath, Jake's phone buzzed. His heart raced as he checked the screen. It was a message from Tom. I'll help. Let us go through the rest of your grandmother's things. We might find more clues. A rush of gratitude flooded through Jake. He needed all the help he could get. Let us do it, he said suddenly, determination igniting inside him. What's the worst that could happen? But even as he said it, an uneasy feeling nestled in his chest. Moments later, back at his apartment, Jake rummaged through boxes that had been untouched for years. Dust filled the air, and the musty scent of old paper overwhelmed him. Memories flooded back, the smell of his grandmother's perfume, a soft touch, stories told by the fireplace. Every item he pulled out felt like a missing puzzle piece, an old quilt, a tin of buttons, and finally, a worn leather-bound diary. Jake! Look at this! Tom called from across the room. Jake rushed over, heart pounding, to see a stack of letters tied with a faded ribbon. His breath caught in his throat. Are they?" he asked, reaching out. Tom nodded, lifting the letters to eye level. They were yellowed and frayed with age, yet still so full of life that he opened the first envelope carefully, cradling it like it was a fragile dream. He squinted at the elegant cursive. Words poured out on the page, filled with hope, love, and warnings. Jake's pulse quickened as he skimmed through the lines, unsure of what each new sentence could reveal. Mia walked in, glancing at the letters in Jake's hands. "What's happening? Is it?" He held up another letter, his voice trembling. She wrote about something she feared, something around family money. She wanted to protect us from it. Fear twisted in Jake's gut. Had she sensed Harold's greed even then? What else was hidden beneath the surface? The pieces began to fall into place, but the weight of that knowledge felt overwhelming. Suddenly the room felt smaller, closing in on him. He caught a glimpse of Tom's concerned face and realized he wasn't just seeking the truth about his family's past. He was about to uncover something that could alter the very foundation of his life, everything he held dear. What other shocks lay hidden in the pages? What secrets had his grandmother withheld to protect him? As he continued reading, the words reached out like hands from the past, pulling him deeper into a mystery that was now firmly in his grasp. Tomorrow, the courtroom awaited, but now, Jake understood that family bonds ran deeper than money. In that moment, he also realized, sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought outside but within the heart itself. What else would he find when he peeled back the layers of his grandmother's life? What if the next letter revealed something far more than just family history? Jake's heart raced as he pulled the next letter from the stack, his fingers trembling with a mix of anticipation and dread. The air was thick with the burden of unspoken words, each letter a key to a door he wasn't sure he was ready to open. He glanced at Tom, who wore an expression of knowing concern. Mia, standing silently by the doorway, was an anchor in the storm of emotions swirling around him. He unfolded the letter slowly, almost reverently. His eyes darted up and down the lines, drinking in each word. "My dear Jake," it began, and an overwhelming sense of intimacy washed over him, as if his grandmother were speaking directly to him from beyond the years. "I write this to you not to frighten you, but to prepare you." Jake's stomach dropped. The tone shifted swiftly from nostalgic warmth to a serious forewarning. The ink seemed to bleed the worries etched into the paper, fears long buried yet somehow still alive. He caught snippets about hidden assets, about unreliable family members, and about choices that could come back to haunt them. "When the time comes, Jake, remember that money can change hearts and corrupt minds. Protect your family." Even from within, the weight of her words hung heavy in the air. He looked up, trying to gather his thoughts, his heart racing. "Protect my family?" he whispered, bewildered. "From whom? What does it say?" Mia moved closer, anxiously leaning in. "It talks about money. And how it can ruin us." He struggled to keep the tremble out of his voice. "She warned all of us about the dangers of greed. She clearly had something in mind, something that could seriously affect us." Mia glanced at Tom, her expression confirming the unsettling realization that they weren't just unearthing family memories, they were digging into a minefield of complicated truths. "Jake, what if she had information we don't know about?" Tom said, his voice low but steady. "What if she set something aside for you, something she didn't want anyone else to touch?" The thought sent ripples through Jake's mind. What if there was a hidden will, or some trust fund his family had shielded from him? The thought turned the threads of doubt into a tight knot of urgency. With shaking hands, he skimmed through the remaining letters, each containing more warnings and cryptic messages. Time slipped away unnoticed, and soon the shadows grew long in his apartment, stretching across the floor, almost reaching out to him like the echoes of his past. "Hey, let's take a break," Mia suggested gently, sensing his spiraling tension. "You don't have to do this all at once." He looked between Tom and Mia, both unwavering in their support. "No, I need to know. I can't stop now." He opened another letter, his determination renewed as hope mixed with fear among the words that he read on, and the revelations kept crashing over him. Harold's name appeared more than once, the disappointment in his grandmother's ink palpable, as if her very spirit was screaming for him to pay attention. The walls of the room seemed to close in on him again, encroaching on the safety he had always felt within these four familiar walls. "That man," Jake muttered, his blood boiling. "He's been lying to us." Tom crossed his arms, a fierce look in his eyes. "Then what are you going to do?" "We have to act before he does something drastic." Jake paused, his heart both racing and aching at the realization that tomorrow held more than just a courtroom showdown. It promised a battle for his family's truth. What if we don't just gather the evidence? What if we confront him? Mia's voice hung in the air, buoyed by hope in the storm of fear. Jake's mind raced, weighing the risks against the necessity of the truth. His grandmother had trusted him with this. She'd had a reason to leave these letters for him to find. But could he face Harold knowing every letter held potential danger, every revelation someone else's risk? Jake clenched his fists. "If there's a chance to protect my family, then I have to try." He took a deep breath, fortified by resolve, as he realized they were on the verge of uncovering something monumental, perhaps even a hidden will that had the power to change everything. Tomorrow felt like a cliff, and he was standing on the edge, ready to leap into the unknown. But now, he understood, knowing the truth was only the first step. What awaited him in that courtroom could shift everything he thought he knew. What if the next discovery turned their world upside down? What secrets lay just beyond his grasp? The morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting a warm glow across Jake's apartment. Despite the peaceful light, a storm churned within him. Today wasn't just any day. It was the day he'd confront Harold and uncover the truths that his grandmother had painstakingly hinted at in her letters that he paced the kitchen, every step echoing the anxiety in his heart. Mia had already left, promising to meet him at the courthouse, while Tom was finishing up a few last-minute preparations for their meeting. Jake looked at the letters again, scattered across the table like fallen leaves. Each page was filled with his grandmother's cautious love, her warnings echoing in his mind. "Protect your family," the phrase flickered, igniting both fear and resolve in him. But what would that really entail? "Ready?" Tom's voice broke through Jake's thoughts, steady and reassuring. He looked up, meeting Tom's determined gaze. "We can't hesitate anymore. We need to act now." Clenching his jaw, Jake gave a curt nod. "Let us go." The drive to the courthouse was filled with a tense silence, the weight of what lay ahead pressing down on them. As they approached the imposing building, everything seemed to slow. Jake's heart thumped loudly in his chest, each beat a reminder of what was at stake. This wasn't just about money, it was about truth, integrity, and the legacy his grandmother had left behind. When they entered the courtroom, the atmosphere crackled with tension. Lawyers shuffled papers, and whispers floated through the air like ghosts of long-held grudges. Seated at the front was Harold, his presence commanding yet unsettling. Jake felt his stomach twist in knots. He could practically hear the taunts in Harold's eyes, mocking him as if he were already defeated, but Jake wasn't backing down. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the confrontation that would define this moment and possibly their future. He could see Mia waiting for him at the back, nodding encouragingly. That small gesture sparked a fire within him. As the judge entered, silence fell. The gavel banged down, sealing their fates in the echoing chamber. Jake's pulse quickened, and he focused on the task ahead. Would the letters, with their solemn messages and warnings, be enough to unravel whatever deception Harold had woven? "Mr. Jacobs," the judge's voice was firm, cutting through the air. "You may present your case." Jake stood, his heart racing as he clasped the letters to his chest like a lifeline. He took a step forward, the eyes of the courtroom boring into him. He could feel the weight of his grandmother's faith press on his shoulders. "Your Honor, I have evidence that I believe could prove significant." He unfolded the first letter, the ink flowing like the memories of his grandmother's voice, urging him to be brave. "These letters," he began, his voice trembling but rising stronger, "contain warnings about hidden assets and the dangers of greed. My grandmother foresaw that these very words might protect not just her legacy, but the truth of our family." He watched as Harold's expression darkened, the smugness fading into a defensive glare, but before Jake could delve deeper, Harold's lawyer interrupted, sneering, "And what makes you think this could hold any weight in a court of law?" Sentiment doesn't sway rulings. The words pricked Jake like thorns, but he pressed on, determination igniting within him. This isn't just sentiment, it's a call for justice. It's a plea for honesty in a family tainted by dishonor. As the tension in the room swelled, Jake glanced at Mia and Tom. Their support wrapped around him like an embrace, giving him strength. Now was not the time to turn back. He had to dig deeper. Your Honor, I need to prove that there's more to this than what appears on the surface. Harold has been manipulating my family, and these letters provide a map to uncovering the truth. The moment felt electric, charged with possibilities. But within the thickening air of uncertainty lay the question that lingered. Could he really expose Harold, or was he walking into a trap made to ensnare them all? With the judge's eyes upon him, Jake knew the real battle lay just ahead, one that would reveal more than just hidden assets but the heart of a family torn apart. What devastation or healing would be revealed when every truth finally came to light? Jake felt a ripple of energy in the courtroom as he held the letter up, doing his best to anchor his shaky hands. The words on the page were an echo of his grandmother's voice, filled with caution and wisdom, as if she were standing right beside him. He took a moment to scan the room. The weight of those gazes felt like a spotlight, and he sensed the skepticism swirling around him. But he pushed through the doubt. I understand if this seems trivial, he continued, his voice firming, but my grandmother spoke of secrets that preyed upon our family. These letters outline her concerns for a reason. She knew something was wrong. Harold's lawyer leaned back, crossing his arms, but even he looked a bit less confident. So you're basing your entire argument on hearsay? Letters from a sentimental old lady? The sarcasm dripped, but Jake could see the lawyer's eyes darting nervously. Not just hearsay, Jake replied, his confidence rising. Real concerns about hidden assets and the exploitation of those closest to her. He looked directly at the judge now, as though drawing strength from the authority of the courtroom. There have been too many whispers about Harold. I believe he has an ulterior motive for contesting her will. Jake felt the tension thicken, like a weight pressing down, but his spirit ignited. He was no longer just a grandson fighting for a legacy, he was a voice for his grandmother's truth. Your Honor, he said, gathering more courage, I have more letters, more evidence. She not only spoke of those assets, but also of Harold's greed, warning us against trusting him. She feared for our family if we let him manipulate us. I need to show you these. He reached for another letter. As he unfolded it, he caught a glimpse of Mia's proud smile at the back of the courtroom. That gave him the momentum he needed. Let me read it, he implored, drawing the letters closer to himself. You'll hear her words, hear her heart. She wrote this because she wanted us to know the truth. She believed we could protect each other from harm. The judge nodded, allowing him to read aloud. As the words flowed, Jake could feel the energy of the room shift. The mentions of trust, betrayal, and familial bonds struck a chord that resonated deep within the audience. A little girl in the front row wiped tears from her eyes, and Jake's heart squeezed. This was bigger than him now. It was about family, love, and standing up for what was right, but as he concluded the reading, the air tightened like a bowstring. He knew it wasn't over yet. He could see Harold's jaw clench, the wheels turning in that mind of his. There was fire in his eyes. You're making a grave mistake. These letters are worthless, Harold interrupted, his voice rising. This court doesn't deal in fairy tales. Jake felt the room shift again, uncertainty seeping back into the atmosphere. A flicker of fear threatened to pull him under, but he fought it. What about the truth? Isn't that what the court is meant to protect? The judge's brow furrowed. This is serious, Mr. Jacobs. Are you prepared to back up these claims with more than emotional testimony? Jake glanced back at Tom and Mia, who nodded fiercely. He took a deep breath, holding on to that small glimmer of hope. Yes, Your Honor. I will find the evidence. We deserve to uncover the truth behind Harold's actions. There was a moment of heavy silence as the judge weighed his words. Every eye in the room was trained on Jake, and he understood that the ground beneath him was shifting. This was just the beginning. As the gavel came down, signaling a recess, Jake felt a blend of triumph and fear. He'd started to unveil the truth, but it felt like he was only scratching the surface. What else could Harold be hiding? What would happen next? He turned to Tom and Mia, determination etched across their faces. This wasn't just a legal battle, it was a family fight. And as they stepped out of the courtroom, the real fight loomed ahead. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were entering a deeper darkness, one that held secrets they were unprepared to face. What more could be revealed, and would they survive the truth that was waiting just around the corner? As Jake stepped out of the courtroom, the buzz of whispered conversations enveloped him. The break allowed the tension to seep out for a moment, but Jake could feel it bubbling just beneath the surface. He spotted Mia by the water cooler, clutching a paper cup. Her eyes were wide with excitement, and he could see her heart racing. "Jake! Did you see Harold's face?" He was rattled. She exclaimed, her voice half a whisper, half a cheer. "Yeah, but we can't celebrate just yet," Jake replied, glancing back at the courtroom door, half expecting Harold to burst out with threats. "We have to find something solid before he strikes back." Tom joined them, a serious look on his face. "What do we do now?" "We need to gather evidence that proves Harold's been hiding something. If we don't, his lawyer will tear us apart." Jake felt the weight of those words. "I need to look through Grandma's old things. There might be more letters, maybe documents that connect the dots." Mia nodded, determination lighting her features. "I'll help you search. We can start at her house tonight." They agreed to meet at Grandma's house after dinner, their spirits bolstered by a sense of purpose. The ride there felt charged with urgency. Memories of all the family gatherings flooded Jake's mind as they drove down familiar streets. Grandma's laughter echoed in his ears. They had to protect that legacy, and now it felt personal. When they reached the house, it felt both comforting and daunting. The familiar scent of old wood and lavender greeted them. As the door creaked open, they stepped inside, and the weight of the past wrapped around them like a warm blanket. "Where do we start?" Mia asked, looking around at the packed shelves and furniture. "Let us go through the study," Jake suggested. That's where she kept most of her important papers. The trio made their way to the study, where books lined the wall and an old desk sat in the corner, stacked high with papers. Jake's heart raced as he started flipping through piles, sifting through yellowing pages and faded photographs. Hours seemed to slip away as they combed through everything. Then, amid some old recipes and family notes, Jake's fingers brushed against something sturdier, a small envelope sealed with wax. His heart skipped a beat. "Mia, Tom. Come here." He pulled the envelope out and examined it. It had Grandma's handwriting on it. With deliberate care, he opened it, revealing another letter. "This is it. This is definitely about Harold." He began to read, finding the same careful concern that echoed in their previous letters. "Harold has long kept secrets from the family," the letter began. "I suspect he wants to control what is rightfully ours. Trust your instincts, my dear." Every word felt like a protective shield. Mia's eyes widened as she leaned closer to read over his shoulder. "This confirms everything. If we can present this," but before they could celebrate, a chilling thought crossed Jake's mind. What if Harold knows we're here? What if he has been watching? Tom glanced towards the window nervously. "We need to move quickly, just in case." Jake nodded, adrenaline coursing through his veins. They couldn't let fear stop them now. They had the truth, but how much more was at stake? As they continued digging through the papers, time seemed to stretch, and a sense of urgency began to seep in. Each letter they uncovered felt like a step closer to unveiling the mystery, but with every moment, they sensed the danger lurking just outside. What if Harold takes drastic measures to silence us? Mia's worried gaze met Jake's. "We need to protect ourselves, too." Jake's mind raced. They were right in the eye of the storm now, and he could feel the tension of unknown threats building. With the truth within reach, it was time to act. They needed to seal their evidence and prepare for the fight ahead. What if this was just the beginning? What more was Harold hiding, and what dark secrets would come to light? As Jake glanced at Mia and Tom, a fierce determination ignited within him. They were ready to battle, but could they truly face whatever lay ahead? The silence in the study felt thick, as if the very walls were holding their breath. Jake could sense the weight of their discovery pressing down on them, and it ignited something fierce inside him. Let us find more. There has to be something else here that ties this all together, he urged, scanning the room as if expecting more envelopes to emerge from the clutter. Tom moved to the bookshelf, carefully pulling out books one by one. Maybe there's more to Harold's plans hidden in the family histories, he suggested. Mia began flipping through a stack of legal papers on the desk. These could be old contracts or agreements. They might give us a clue, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, the tension evident in every syllable. Hours slipped by like seconds as their anxiety built. They were intertwined in a web of secrets and deceit, and the further they dug, the darker it felt. Jake found himself glancing at the window frequently, his heart thumping loudly in his chest. Every rustle of the wind or creak of the house made him jump, as if Harold was lurking just outside, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Jake, over here," Mia called suddenly. He bolted to her side, where she had uncovered another letter, this one larger and more formal-looking than the others. "It's addressed to Grandma from her attorney." Jake felt a surge of hope. "Open it, please." Mia carefully unfolded the document, eyes racing across the text. As she read aloud, her voice quivered slightly. "It details a will revision. It seems Grandma had plans to update her will just before she passed. It mentions something about a family trust and assets." His mind raced. Harold could be trying to manipulate what's in that trust. "We need to know what the updates were." Tom looked uneasy. "If Harold gets wind of this, he'll do anything to bury it. We have to be smart. Let us make copies of everything," Jake instructed, wrestling with his own fear. "We can't risk losing anything, it's all evidence. Then we need to figure out how to confront Harold without putting ourselves in danger." Mia's fingers trembled as she gathered the papers. "Do you think he's already planning something? Like, trying to erase any evidence of Grandma's wishes?" Jake felt a tightness in his chest. "Honestly, I can't shake the feeling that he's not just watching us. We have to act fast." The three of them rushed into overdrive, photocopying every document they could find, moving with a sense of urgency like never before. Each click of the printer felt like a gunshot echoing against the walls of Grandma's haven, and Jake couldn't help but feel a sinking weight. They were taking the battle straight to the enemy. When they finished, they stepped back, staring at the scattered papers on the table, drenched in determination yet overshadowed by anxiety. "Is that it then? Are we ready?" Tom's voice carried a hint of doubt. "We have to report this. We can't back down now," Jake replied. But inside, he felt the flutter of uncertainty. What if they pushed too hard and set Harold off? As they stood in the dim light of the study, the atmosphere thick with anticipation, Mia looked at Jake, her eyes steady. "This is for Grandma. For her legacy. We're doing the right thing, right?" "Right," Jake affirmed, though doubt still tugged at the edges of his resolve. Before they could catch their breath, the familiar sound of a car engine roared to life outside. Their hearts dropped as they traded wary glances. "He's here, isn't he?" Tom whispered, the fear in his voice unmistakable. Jake moved to the window, peering cautiously through the curtain. There it was, Harold, advancing toward the house with an icy confidence that sent shivers down Jake's spine. They needed a plan, and fast. But did they truly have what it took to stand against the storm? As Harold's shadow grew longer outside the glowing window, a question loomed in Jake's mind. What risks were they willing to take to stand up for what was right? The sun dipped below the horizon like the final curtain call of a play, leaving behind an anxious tension that filled Jake's chest. The living room was dim, shadows creeping in as they huddled around the table, stacks of printed papers and letters scattered before them. "Jake, we need a plan," Mia whispered, her eyes wide, fear mingling with hope. Tom glanced nervously toward the window. They all felt Harold's presence outside. It was as if the walls of Grandma's home had eyes, watching their every move. Right, Jake replied, swallowing hard. His heart thudded louder than ever. We need to confront him with the evidence, assert our claim over Grandma's legacy. But what if he fights back? Mia asked, worry etching deeper lines across her forehead. What if he tries to intimidate us? That was the fear that gnawed at Jake too. His grandmother had warned him about greed and manipulation, and here they were on the brink of a confrontation with the man who loomed like a dark cloud over their family's history. We have each other, Jake said firmly, looking back at them, and truth is on our side. We can't let fear hold us back, Tom added, his fists clenched with resolve. We need to go to the courthouse tomorrow and present everything we've found. That's the only way, Jake agreed, feeling bolstered by their solidarity. But first his voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping in again. He glanced at the door, where he could still see shadows moving outside. Was Harold waiting? Waiting for them to make a mistake? Suddenly, a loud knock echoed through the silence. They exchanged glances, tension palpable in the air. It's him. Mia's voice barely rose above a whisper. Jake's heart raced as he approached the door, each step heavier than the last. He breathed in deeply, grounding himself. With a cautious move, he turned the knob, the creaky door slowly revealing Harold. Tension crackled in the atmosphere like static electricity. Jake. I thought you'd be too busy digging through old boxes. Harold's voice dripped with sly mockery. He strolled in, all arrogance and bravado, but Jake could see the flicker of uncertainty in his beady eyes as he took in the cluttered living room. Is there something you want? Jake asked, forcing his voice steady. Harold stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. You think you can just go poking around in family business? You're digging a hole for yourself. We're not afraid of you, Mia shot back, standing beside Jake, her chin raised defiantly. This isn't about money. It's about uncovering the truth. Truth? Harold sneered, practically dismissing them. What do you know of truth? You're just children playing with fire. Fire, perhaps. But we have the fuel, Tom interjected boldly, as he pulled the letters from the table, brandishing them like a shield. Harold's expression shifted, surprise crossing his features. What are those? They're your mother's words, a map of her heart, Jake declared, stepping forward. She warned us about dishonesty. This family deserves to know the truth. The air hung heavy for a moment, Harold's smirk faltering. You think those scraps will hold any weight in a courtroom? You're naive. Perhaps, Jake replied, digging deep for every ounce of conviction. But we're ready to present them. Tomorrow. Harold scoffed, though something flickered in his eyes, a hint of panic. You won't find anything worth fighting for. I suggest you back off while you still can. Or what? Jake challenged, his pulse racing. Or well, you'll see, Harold said, a shadow passing across his face. You're meddling with forces you don't fully understand. Mia stepped closer, sensing Jake's mounting anger. We understand plenty. The choices you've made, the secrets you've kept. Tomorrow is about exposing those truths in the courtroom. Good luck, Harold sneered, retreating with his parting line hanging heavy in the air. You'll need it. As the door slammed shut, the house sighed, exhaling the weight of tension. Jake turned to Mia and Tom, a spark of courage igniting inside him. Tomorrow will change everything, he said, lifting his chin slightly. We're finally taking a stand. The following day dawned, bright and sharp. They arrived at the courthouse with the weight of anticipation pressing down on their shoulders. Jake felt an electric current of determination buzz through him, and he steadied his resolve. Gathered in the hall, neighbors from the community filed in, curious and hopeful, supporting Jake's cause. With every step toward the courtroom, Jake reflected on how far he had come. His grandmother's legacy was not just about financial inheritance, it was woven into the fabric of family loyalty and connection. Today, they would reclaim that. Finally, they entered the room, a mosaic of anxiety and hope filling the air. The judge took his seat, gazing down at them with a stern expression. Jake felt the spotlight beam sharper as he prepared to present everything they had uncovered. Where's Harold? Jake's heart raced, uncertainty creeping back as the timekeeper barked for order. But there was no sign of him. The courtroom felt heavy with anticipation, but Jake pushed through the cold grip of doubt. With Mia and Tom beside him, he began to present the letters with determination evident in each word. As he spoke about his grandmother's warnings, something shifted within the courtroom. The audience began to lean in closer, their expressions shifting, empathy blooming as Jake breathed life into the legacy their family was desperately trying to hold on to. The truth emerged like a fragile flower breaking through concrete. Haltingly, he read his grandmother's words aloud, her warnings about greed, her hopes for unity wrapping around every listener like a warm thread. The truth isn't just about heritage, he concluded vulnerably, feeling the warmth of support from those who had come to witness the defining moment. It's about family, love, and vulnerability. What's more important in this life than connection? Mia's voice rose like a gentle wave. We're facing this together. It's time we let the truth shine. Throughout the courtroom, a ripple of realization moved through the crowd. Each person could sense the genuine care behind their fight. Jake spotted faces in the crowd, nodding in encouragement, whispers of support growing louder. At that moment, Harold entered, his figure like a storm cloud in the doorway. Jake felt a tightening knot in his stomach, but he stood firm, ready as the clock ticked away precious seconds of doubt. Your Honor, Harold barked, interrupting the flow. This is ridiculous. These letters mean nothing. This is a mockery of true legal matters. But Jake stood resolutely, fueled by a connection that surged among those gathered. With respect, Harold, the true mockery lies in ignoring the very essence of family. This is not just about money, it's about a deeper truth that we deserve to uphold. The witnesses shifted, various whispers wrapping around them, growing stronger, as Jake continued to speak. The air buzzed with a palpable change. Ultimately, the judge leaned forward, attention fully captured. I want to hear more about these letters and the importance they hold in this matter. As Jake stood there, embracing the weight of his grandmother's legacy, he saw the truth illuminate the courtroom in ways they could only have imagined. Tomorrow, he realized, wasn't just about winning or losing, it was about reclaiming what had been held for too long. The courtroom had transformed into a battleground of love and honesty. They were dismantling Harold's grip one word at a time, paving the way for a new beginning, tied together as family once more. As the moments unfolded, embracing an uncertainty that now felt hopeful, they were ready to face whatever lay ahead, bonded stronger than before. Together, they would emerge forever changed, carrying their family's story onward. And with that realization, Jake sensed the truth: they were already winning. Now was the time to act and soar. You need to subscribe right now to catch all our upcoming exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We have to know, and for the love of storytelling, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear about this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. This is the moment to stand together.